the meeting of the Odessa Development Corporation Board at 3:01 it was when I banged the gavel. Ronnie, if you'd lead us in the invocation, please.
All right. Will you bow your heads, please? Heavenly Father, we come to you today in the name of Jesus. We ask you to watch over this meeting, watch over our proceeds, everything that we do today. Let it bring glory and honor to you. Let it be in your mind and your heart and your will and in the interest of the people of the city of Odessa and our area. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. We recite the pledges if you'd stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas pledge. I pledge allegiance to thee.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
My bad.
You know. I'm going to lead this thing in at church.
Okay, next item on our agenda is the minutes for July 10th and July 31st. I had one item that I think I'd like to add to the minutes of July the 10th, and that's where it reflects, or where it's talking about our, on page 2 at the very end of that piece of a paragraph, it talks about the 2003 audit was presented. I'd like for the minutes, if nobody objects, to reflect that the board felt the 2023 audit was inadequate, didn't meet the complexity desired, and then that no action was taken. I think that's really what we talked about, what we decided. Are there any other corrections, suggestions on either one of the sets of minutes other than that?
I don't even see that on this.
Here it says Ms. Banda presented the 23
just
audit.
to expand on that.
I'd just add that there.
Okay.
Oh,
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
A motion and second to approve the minutes with the July 10th minutes being modified. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. Any member of the public may address the ODC board regarding any of its agenda items before or during the consideration of the item. Contractors reports, Tom, for the economic development.
Good afternoon. If y'all don't mind, due to everything you have on your agenda today, two of our most important projects we're working on, that would be in my activity report, I'm going to discuss with y'all as a later agenda item, and I'll just keep it at that and end this right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions for Tom? Okay, thank you, Tom. Christy, have anything additional? Okay. All right. I don't see Chris. Tyler. I don't see Tyler. James Beecham. No. Kaylee. Anything that you're okay? No, we didn't meet we talked about the last partnership meeting. Advertising, anything from the advertising committee?
We haven't met. We'll meet next meeting.
Okay.
We'll have a report.
Any compliance issues other than what's coming before our meeting today?
No.
Investment review, we talked about that in our last meeting. Okay, Tom, discuss and consider cost overruns and request additional funds from ICA Development LLC.
Got back up here a lot quicker than I thought I would. You will find in your packet under item number 8, there was a request made back over a year ago on a project, and right now I'm trying to remember the project name, Crossbow, I believe. ODC voted to support infrastructure improvements around an area of town that would lead to advanced business development, including workforce housing, retail, commercial, light industrial, among other things. One of the first things it did lead to right off the bat was the construction of a Bass Pro Shop. So you know the area I'm talking about there near Yukon and 191. They ran into a number of cost overruns. That's Investment Corporation of America with regards to doing the items that they had requested support with last time. Most of that was drainage and also construction of a roadway that would lead further into that property and support that area off of Yukon coming in from that new overpass out there. And so as you see, they made a request, and I apologize I didn't bring my cheaters, but $1,529,500, and I believe that's $97.49. They ran into a number of overruns, the largest being working on relocation of a aviation fuel line that they had to move that would have been under the Bass Pro, which can't do that apparently. And so they ran into some unexpected things with regards to the relocation of that line. I do know that Tom Glassman and Callie Norris are here today with ICA if you have specific questions with regards to the overruns and the request.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, yeah, the first thing comes to my mind is and now bear in mind, I'm in pipeline, oil and gas construction, everything else. How did those guys not see the aviation fuel line and know from the get-go that they couldn't build on top of that? I don't want to say what I think about it, but that's just not good business.
Well, there's an estimate in there, in the performance agreement, it calls for it to be $273,000, and then the cost came in at $845.
Yeah.
My question, I'd ask it a little different way.
Well, I mean,
How did we miss it so far?
in layman's term, working on it. Wow.
Could you say that again? I'm sorry.
How did we miss the price estimates? I mean, we're a third of what it cost.
Well, in my discussions with them, I think there were some issues with regards to the pipeline owner, and I think ICA had their processes with regards to relocating the line, but the pipeline owner had their own, and I would let them if they wanted to provide further detail on that.
We give our address.
Say name.
Name, yep.
Affiliate.
Tom Glassman with ICA Development. Appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for at least looking into this. Very good question. Very good question. We based a lot of our estimates off of previous projects that have been done through different engineers and different cost developers in the past. HF Sinclair is the company that was involved in this specific pipeline. We knew that we were going to have to move it because it was under the footprint of the building. But again, it was off of those estimates. They put on some other demands and some other stringent things that they can ask for, and we were just kind of at their mercy.
Right.
We went ahead and did it because we wanted to provide this project for the betterment of the city. It is what it is. That is one of them. A couple of others.
Yeah, the road
The
construction.
road construction is way off.
That's correct. So Crossbow Road, which goes north and south from 191 down to Kinder Morgan's entrance, because of the heavy trucks that they have coming in and out, the requirement was to beef up that asphalt. And that was asked by, the city, which makes sense, because you don't want to put in a new road and have to repair it a year and a half down the calendar.
So was the was it spec'd originally with like county requirements, or are there varying levels of city requirements, or how does that work?
I believe that the city of Odessa's requirements are 8 inches of base and 3 inches of asphalt, or 2 inches of asphalt? 2. So 2 over 8 is kind of the jargon. We had to do, was it 6 over 12? So 6 inches of asphalt over 12 inches of base. So it's just more base material and more asphalt to make sure that compaction, would sustain those heavy trucks.
Now, before y'all started that project, wasn't Kinder Morgan, wasn't their only entrance right into their yard when they turned off of 191? Didn't they have a privatized road that just went to their yard?
They did,
Okay.
yes. But when they platted many years ago, they reserved a 50-foot right-of-way.
Okay.
So that's where Crossbow has been constructed,
Right.
in that right-of-way.
Well, my question being, that yard was somebody else's before it was Kinder Morgan's. The original road base wasn't what they asked you to build. I'm sure it's not. I mean, I'll just say it. I'm sure it's not. To the specifications they asked you with the thickness and all that for the heavy trucks, it was their own road, and when it was theirs and they had to foot the bill, they didn't care how thick
Correct.
it was.
Correct. Yes.
I have 3 questions for you.
Yes.
Just try to get them out there. One, of the 1.5 that you're asking, how much of that is your actual need? I know what the request is, and if that is the actual need, so that's 1. 2, if we don't approve this, what situation does that leave you all in terms of finishing this project? And then 3rd, would the unforeseen costs, can you tell us what some of those consist of?
I'm glad you left your cheat sheet
Yes,
up
that
here.
little square there that has them.
I'm not good at answering all 3 questions right off the bat. Please tell me the first one.
Of the 1.5, how much of it do you actually need?
So the 1.5, at the end of the day, when all the bills and invoices come in, that's the anticipation what it's going to be.
Okay.
It may go over a little bit. If it does, I'm not going to come back in here. We're going to pay it. We want this project to go, and it's going to happen. So yes, it will be paid, and it will take place.
So I think that kind of leads to that second question. If we don't fund this, let's say we don't fund it in full,
Correct.
where does that leave you all in terms of completing and finishing the project?
We will complete and finish the project.
Okay.
Yes.
And then 3rd was just the unforeseen costs. I know we have an asterisk there, but just curious of what are some of those unforeseen costs that are line itemed?
They're listed down below it.
Oh, is that, okay,
That
I got
sewer
it.
line,
I see, I missed
the
it.
big numbers, the sewer line, 193, 734.
Yes, and the reason that we did that is because when we were building Bass Pro Road, we were unable to get an easement on the adjacent property owner to have enough room to put in the sewer line. So the sewer is now kind of in the road, and we made the decision to just do that so we didn't have to go back and rip up a brand new road when the sewer line was going to come in once we start developing more.
So you'd already built the road, and then you figured out you needed to change the sewer?
No, we put the sewer in before we built the road, but we didn't have enough room on that adjacent property owner because there wasn't enough room to put the sewer in the right-of-way.
So you relocated the sewer line from what you originally intended to build?
I don't know if I'm answering that correctly, and if I have a lifeline, I could.
Phone a friend?
Okay. If you don't know this gentleman, it's John Langrad, and I know you know him.
It was anticipated that the sewer line would be put in a place that would not be underneath the new road, Bass Pro Road. But they couldn't get an easement that they thought that they could. So we put the sewer line in before we built the road so that we wouldn't have to tear up a brand new road to put in the sewer line as that property began to develop east of there. And we just extended it enough with this project to just get it out from underneath new Bass Pro Road. So That was,
So is it 193,000 more to put it under the road than where you were gonna originally put it? I mean, how did that create almost $200,000?
So it didn't create any more cost. It's just that we went ahead and did it because we knew we were gonna have to have sewer some point, and we wanted to get it in before the road was built.
I think if we could have gotten the easement, we wouldn't have had to build the sewer at this time, because it wouldn't have gone under the road.
So you didn't have to build the sewer for this place to open?
Yeah.
It does,
Well, let me take
I'm
a stab,
sorry.
let me take a stab at this.
it
I
doesn't serve, that sewer line does not serve Bass Pro, it serves some of the other property, but it was,
But it wasn't in the original estimate of what we approved that we were gonna pay for.
That is 100% correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And I totally understand the question, you know. Why'd you guys do this and it wasn't even approved on the first hand? The reason why is because we didn't want to rip up a brand new road.
Well, let's see, up in the top of your sewer line was 205 and you only spent 160. So there's 41,000 on that sewer line that is under budget. So you could take that off of the 193. So they're only 150 over, if that helps you.
And
If I'm reading this right.
If I could chime in a little bit too, to help Tom, but this,
Please.
is it line Q, I guess, is the big line, where's
yes.
line Q that we actually tapped into this sewer line? About 26 acres is what's gonna be developed on the east side of Bass Pro. The 26 acres is a part of a 150 acre development that we are planning for. It was 150 acres that we're planning for, not just Bass Pro. So the sewer line serves that 26 acres on the east side, but it's tapping into the new sewer line that was installed by the city.
So is that development gonna be commercial, residential, or do you know?
It's gonna be residential, but I think if we were going back all the way back to what we were planning, we were even considering trying to bring the sewer line up from the west where Bass Pro is in Mission Boulevard. But economically, it made more sense to come from the east.
Let me do just a little bit of orientation because we have some, large number of, new board members basically that weren't here when this was approved. The philosophy was, there's a road, a piece of the road that completes the loop of that 150 acres. And we were going to provide that infrastructure because that 150 acres contains workforce housing, commercial, light industrial properties, and that's really where our focus was. The other items in this estimate were additional infrastructure, but you can see that out of the 4.4 million, almost 2.8 million is the road construction. There's my recollection is there's maybe a little bit of drainage work there as well that that helped that 150 acres. So that was the emphasis of what we were doing at the time.
Well, and going back to that piece also with the infrastructure of the drainage, that also, the aviation gas line had to be lowered underneath that as well, with the CRNWD line was going underneath that drainage channel, which was a big piece of the infrastructure installation. And you're right, it was part of all the 150 acre infrastructure piece.
Does anybody have any questions, comments? I do want to.
So we still hadn't funded the whole 4.4 yet, right?
Correct.
And so you've got to do whatever to turn that in to get that reimbursed?
That's correct.
Is it just behind, or is it on schedule, or?
It's on schedule, and we could turn that in within 48 hours. We just thought, you know what, let's ask and see if there's some funds that could be provided to complete the project. Otherwise, then we can, turn it in and cut it off at the 4.4 and, so be it. That was kind of the thought process there. And by the way, Kaylee and her staff's been great on, going through it all and being timely and doing everything the city said they'd do.
Before we get too farther along, I think it should be noted that Tim is going to abstain because of the relationship he has with ICA. Are there any additional questions with regarding these costs and?
Well, you said on the original plat that 150 acres, is that in Midland County or Ector County?
Entirely in Midland County,
It's all in Midland.
yes.
That's what I
But
thought. That's what I thought, but I wasn't gonna assume something.
Right, but every bit of it is in the city of Odessa,
Right.
It's already been annexed into the
Yes.
city?
yes.
But if I heard you correctly, the original intent, the reason we did this was because of the road, right?
The road was
The road was
the road was the primary piece. We thought it was important to provide infrastructure for the development of 150 acres into workforce housing areas and commercial, light industrial, whatnot. We thought that made sense.
I guess I probably would be open to funding the road construction overage, the 764. All the rest of it seems to be issues that, I know they're all important issues, but they don't really pertain as much to us as is the part of the road construction. If that was our emphasis on doing it to start with, I would probably be open to that.
So on these items like TxDOT drainage ditch, you're 169,000 below the agreement. You say you're 92% complete. Will you spend the rest of that money getting the other 8%, or are you pretty much done with cost?
So the performance agreement on the drainage, that was our estimate, the 363,000. We were able to find a contractor to do that at a lesser cost. And I don't have that total bid in front of me, but we've paid 92% of that. So we're gonna be well below that 363, if I answered that correctly. So we did try to save some cost in some areas where we could, and then we just ran into these others.
Maybe I can help just a little bit here too. I'm gonna come at it from just a little bit different. If you look at let's see, let me get my bearings here. If we talk about the relocation of that sewer line, I think ICA intended to do that later, right?
Correct.
Right, and that you would have borne that cost later.
Yes.
So I think we could carve that piece out, because it doesn't match up with what we originally agreed to do. I don't know if that helps you. And if we wanted to focus just on the road construction, because that's a big piece of it, that would be, that would bite off a big chew, but we wouldn't be bearing the entire. I don't really know how to look at the Sinclair line. I don't have a good feel for that. But
I do have one comment too. On this, we have worked really hard on trying to get at least 3 bids in with LCA on every single piece. The Sinclair line, it was mandatory that they had to do the construction.
I was gonna ask you, they did it and you got to pay for it?
And we had to pay for it, and they were the only,
Yeah.
that was the only, we've really worked hard to try to get the bids down as low as possible with 3
Sure.
bids. They're the only ones that we were not able to do that with just because of their policy within their company.
Yeah, I've seen that in other places when moving
And I
oil
can
lines.
tell you one more complicating thing. It was a Holly pipeline for the last 40 years. I think it's actually Mobil then Holly. And the other adjustments that we had done on that is where we got the original adjustment price of $275,000, whatever that number was. H.S. Sinclair took it over very early in our process, or just before we started the process. And the pipeline was never under the building, but it was going through the parking lot. And that price that we had was to lower it within the parking lot of Bass Pro. And the engineers in, I think, Salt Lake City or somewhere, just went crazy and said, we can't do that. It can't be on Bass Pro property or anything, or anywhere close to where you're going to congregate people, because that carries aviation fuel from the refinery to the West Coast and to El Paso. So they made us reroute the entire thing all the way around that whole development, so it's parallel to the back of curb street of Mission Drive and Dr. Emmett Headley, and then had to be lowered underneath the relocated drainage channel. So that's the reason that price went skyrocketed. It was not just a simple lowering like has been done in other places.
Okay, John, I guess there was an assumption made that this is typically how we handle a line of this type in our area?
Yes, that's exactly right.
And maybe to add to that, that 273,000 estimate was just for the portion to lower under the new drainage.
Yeah.
But they made us, and you're right, it was never under the building, it was close to it, but they made us reroute the whole thing.
David, on there, and maybe Peggy or Tim, if they've come under the performance agreement for TxDOT and the sewer line, as long as that fits within a qualified expense in the performance agreement, they could use those funds that they haven't used, or at least haven't been allocated line item for something else that would still be a qualified expense.
Right.
So we could actually, I guess we could consider that as part of what their request is, as a reduction of some of their requests, because they could still use it for those funds. Is that fair to?
Sure.
And it is showing as a reduction. That's why they're only asking for $1.5 million.
Yeah, it's already subtracted out.
Hmm?
Yeah, it's already subtracted out.
Yeah, it's already been subtracted.
And just to add to all this from the beginning, I'm on the sales side, not really much of the numbers, and the construction side as much as Tom is, but working with all these retailers, it's more of a, hey, if you build it, they will come. And that's where we started with all of this, and you guys got us to the place of building all this infrastructure, and we built it and they came. And so it all kind of worked in together. We do have a lot of exciting things coming, because it's not just the road, I guess is what I'm saying. It's all the infrastructure that's around the Bass Pro area. And we think that we have a lot more things coming that will help with all this.
Where do you think you stand on development of the commercial industrial piece and the workforce housing piece? What's the timing on that developing?
So for just specifically the 150 acres, I think this has certainly got the ball rolling, and I think that we are, we're making deals every day as we speak on closing some deals for pad sites and things like that on the front side. We have some large development. This has drawn some attention, and so we have a large development on the south as well that's workforce housing that is already closed. We closed 100 acres with D.R. Horton. We closed another 83 acres with D.R. Horton. We're under contract for another 200 acres for workforce housing. That should close, I'm guessing middle of December.
Okay.
So it's really drawn a lot of attention.
If there are not any other questions, I would entertain a motion of some sort.
What do you want to do?
Consider.
I'm just one member of this board.
I know, but I don't know what I want to do.
I'm with Peggy. Peggy's line of thought was already towards my line of thought. I think that goes to at least towards half of their request.
And that's right at 50%.
Right.
The road construction piece, which was our main goal anyway.
And this is a big deal. It's one of the first times I've seen ODC pay for infrastructure, which I always thought they should help pay for infrastructure. But I think we need to be careful what we pay for, because there'll be other developers wanting us to do the same thing for them. Maybe on a smaller scale.
Well, my understanding is the infrastructure we could always do if it was going to, like the Bass Pro Shop. You know, if other things got helped along the way, that's fine, but we couldn't have done the infrastructure just for D.R. Horton. But because it's in the way, I mean, it's on the way to, that's what I understood, is
Yeah,
that right?
We did it because of the workforce housing,
Right.
the commercial and the light industrial. We didn't do it because of Bass Pro. We
Right.
intentionally didn't do it because of Bass Pro, because that's retail, and we did not want to set any kind of a precedent.
But we had an incentive, a reason to do that, other than.
Yes, absolutely.
Just,
And I guess one thought on that is, I mean, if you look at supporting the overage on the road construction, then we're basically kind of 50-50 partners in the overage.
Right,
It's another way to look at it.
that's about 50%.
my numbers, this is really just FYI. Glad Dr. Woodley's here. I took college algebra 4 times. That's the last class I had to take to graduate. So I became a lawyer for that reason, right? I don't know that the 169 and the 41 is subtracted out. My numbers don't show that. So I say that just say I'm comfortable with Peggy's request because I still think they have some additional funds. Just when I subtract the total expenditures and excluding those out, it comes out to be around the same. So I'm not sure that's subtracted from that number. Nonetheless, I think they have additional funds, but so that just further for me confirms I think I'm good with that request of doing the road stuff. I'm good with that.
It does add up. It is included.
Well, you're the accountant.
It is. So I would make a motion that we fund $764,550.93.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. And one abstention. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that helps us just doing road construction down the road.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
Give them the money for moving the line, because that directly affects the location of the Valley Road stuff.
All right, we've got discuss and consider resolution approving performance agreement with Champion X LLC. Brian?
All a liability issue.
Yes, sir. Okay, so as y'all may be aware, this was presented under the moniker Project X, but I guess it's okay to now say Champion X. A lot of confidentiality around this, but in April of '24, Schlumberger purchased Champion X, and there's campuses in Odessa and in Midland, and there's a competition right now to consolidate operations in one city or the other. Schlumberger is looking to inject about $12.5 million of capex into this whichever city ends up winning out, and they're going to be developing a state-of-the-art ESP campus, which is submersible pump, electric submersible pump, equipment and technologies, expansion of property and reconfiguration of existing buildings. So the compliance committee did decide to approve unanimously at the far end of the matrix at 60% a grant request of $2,078,057, or excuse me, $2,078,057.12. And this would be for $1.8 million in job creation and then $230,000 in capital investment. But it was approved unanimously.
Brian, what did you all decide, because the contract is left it blank? It was 130 jobs, but it wasn't all up front. They were going to be 50 and then 80. And there was the
Yes.
question about So when do they qualify to get money? Tom's raising his hand.
I think the legal department asked me to reach out to them to get more specific dates with regards to the jobs, and I was still waiting on that information from them. And one
Yes.
other item I wanted to mention, I don't want anybody, if media's in the room, I don't want anybody to misconstrue. It's not, they're shutting down an operation in one community, moving into another. This is one specific project that they're either gonna put in one community or the other. And so I don't want people to run and go, whoa, Odessa may lose it or Midland may lose it. So that's not the case. But yeah, we're still working with them to fill in the blanks on the jobs, but it was gonna be a two-phase. I think 50 the first phase and 80 the second phase.
So would we calculate the grant based
Based on
on
the jobs.
50 and then on 80? So we have two different timelines. They start getting a fifth of the 50 once the 50 reaches.
It's
And-
not uncommon in our BDAs over the period of 5 years to have different specific goals for different years, because they get a compliance audit after each year. So if we, I'm sure there's gonna be a touch of back and forth on the EDA. I've already sent it to them, they've been in receipt. They said they're trying to get it back from their attorneys, but they didn't get back with me on a good start date. And that was one of the questions in my email to the individual I'm working with is what would be your preferred start date for this 5-year agreement?
I guess I'm not asking my question really.
In the 2 years of the employment, those would be, as part of that agreement, they would be stipulated. In year 2, you're gonna create X jobs with X payroll.
Yeah, but I think what Peggy's coming
That's-
to is,
yeah.
can we, I think,
It's not gonna
can
be
we?
a fifth each year
Yeah,
of what we're giving them.
we should
I
probably,
explained that to them, that they can, that y'all have worked with projects before, and you may front end a grant a little bit, depending on your CapEx and your payroll. And I said, but we don't know what that looks like until you provide that information
yeah,
to us.
and I guess what I would say is on the front end, we would de-escalate that because the jobs, 80 out of the 130 jobs are gonna be created in the second
Phase
phase, and
two.
we need to know what that second phase is. So,
Which basically means it would probably be paid out over, there's actually two payouts. There's the payout that could start once the 50 has happened, and that would be a fifth each year. And then when they get the other 80, so they're at 130, then there would be the new payout for the 80 in addition to the few years left on the 50, and the 80 would go past the 50 because it happened 2 or 3 years later.
Well, I can give you an example, because this is their
Am I
second,
making
they did a
sense?
different grant that they just received payment for not too long ago. And, was that their 4th payment? I hate to put you on the spot.
Sorry, I think we have 2 left.
2 left, okay. Give you an example of how that one was paid. They requested at the time of that grant, and they've actually performed it well above it. They, ODC front-loaded it. It was $400,000 at the end of year 1, and then $100,000 at the end of years 2, 3, 4, 5.
But I'm not saying that. I'm saying it would actually be different.
You're
It
talking
might
about
be,
just doing it in 2
it might
years.
be
It'll be rear-end
100 the
loaded.
first 2 years, and then 400,
yeah, it'll be back-end
It'll
loaded.
be back end loaded.
because that's when the other 80
So-
jobs happen.
In part of what you're asking them for, are you asking them for the timeline on phase 1 and the timeline on phase 2? Or do we know that?
We don't know
We
that
don't, no.
specifically.
Okay,
And
so-
that was one of the questions I asked.
So I think,
That'll be-
yeah, I think that the preferred way to do this is to match up, typically, a lot of times these jobs are created within the first year or something, and then if you do it's a 5-year deal and you do a 20%, 20%, 20%, it doesn't make any, it's fine. In this particular case, since the jobs creation is back-end loaded, that's the way the payments ought to be structured. And without the information, I think, I would guess that everyone's in favor of approving this. It's just a matter of getting that information in the contract
Well,
correctly.
I actually have two concerns. with this project. Number one is, this is bought by Schlumberger. Champion X was is public knowledge, so they just took over this. Number two is, I want to explain this if you don't know, an electrical submersible pump is what's being used in the oil field to extract the horizontal wells. Okay, everybody in the ESP business right now is struggling, big time struggling. I can take you where people are laying people off by the hundreds, closing facilities that manufacture the equipment, all this stuff, and I'll do what the guys want to do, but I don't believe it's an opportune time to do it. And the other thing is, this organization was created to fund non-oil field jobs. Now, everybody knows who Schlumberger is. They're a giant, huge worldwide company. And I'd rather see it used for somebody else that would be more beneficial. And that's my opinion.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
I respect your opinion. There's one thing that I think ought to be considered. If a project is an oil field related project and we are competing with another area,
Right.
then the incentives make sense because we're incentivizing that company to locate here, do their expansion or relocation here as opposed to somewhere else. So that's the only way that I would tweak that a little bit from what you're saying.
I get it.
And at the end of the day, when you're talking about, some of these things you're seeing less activity on, once again, we do the compliance audit, and if they don't perform, they're not rewarded
Right.
for that.
Right, that would be what they're saying, the back end of it, if it's being done. I mean, anybody can, and we've all seen that, anybody can say, I can do this, I can do that, and come back.
I think this would be, if you're looking for some direction from me, I think this would be an appropriate one to table until we get the information and understand how that we can structure the payments that match up with the jobs creation.
I agree.
Because I mean, we've got an incomplete agreement at this point, and I'm not sure all of us are on the same page with regard exactly how those numbers are gonna be, so.
But Tom, do we need to say, yes, we want to do this deal, and so they'll know that we're in the game, instead of, and then say, well, we need to structure it, we don't know how we're gonna pay the grants, it's gonna be based on jobs, we need more information?
Well, and I'll tell you, like any project, we have to kind of base our activities on what they tell us. And they came out in a big rush, that's why you don't, usually we'd like to have already had the contract back from them with their numbers agreed to before we put them in front of y'all. On this one, they rushed us heavily and said, there's a time concern here because we are competing internally within the company. And they said that, they're not aware of their competition even putting their project together to this extent at this time frame. And so, in my last couple of conversations with them, I've indicated to them there's strong support for this project in Ector County, and I would be shocked if the ODC board didn't want that. I can go back to them this afternoon or in the morning and say that there's strong indication they support this project. There's just some more details we need to clarify so that they have better information to base their
Well,
levels.
it's real simple. We just need the timeline on when
Yeah.
they think they're gonna staff it, how many and when.
The other thing that we could do, I guess, is we could approve this contingent upon understanding those details and then prorating the payments based on the jobs creation timeline.
You could even set it up in 3 different deals. You could say, once you get the CapEx done, we're gonna fund whatever the CapEx number that compliance came up with. Once that's done, and then you could do the 50 jobs and the 80 jobs. You could really structure the deal. So, but I think if we were.
I think if they need to know that we're gonna do it,
Right.
Well, that's
think
the
we-
only way that we can definitively say we're gonna do it, is approve it contingent upon
Subject.
that,
I'll make a
that
motion.
payment schedule matching up with the jobs
I'll make a
creation.
motion, we approve contingent upon a payment schedule that we can agree on. Is that
second,
a motion?
Well, let's that matches up with the jobs creation and timing of the capital investment.
second.
Have a motion and a second. Are there any additional questions or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, discuss and consider a resolution, let's see, discuss and consider a grant support of the creation of civil engineering program, other related improvements at the University of Texas Permian Basin, and authorize the ODC president to negotiate and execute a performance agreement with the University of Texas Permian Basin.
All right. So yes, UTPB is, they are asking for support in their efforts to create a robust civil engineering program that addresses infrastructure, workforce needs here in the Permian Basin. The grant request is for $2 million for this endeavor. They're estimating overall that it's going to be requiring about $6.5 million of capital expenditures over a 5-year period of time. They've already raised $600,000, including $250,000 pledge from LCA and $250,000 from Grow Odessa. A lot of the discussion that we had internally centered around, would the MDC cooperate with us? When would they come in? I think the last I remember in this conversation, and Peggy helped me out there, I think they were talking about coming in more towards the end.
The end.
Right.
We'd do the first 2 years and they'd come in at the end.
Right. And so, and ultimately we agreed that we would want to go ahead and proceed forward. There was a lot of discussion around that, but overall, the compliance committee did approve by a vote of 9-1 to approve this $2 million grant. Initially, Tim Ogilvy made a motion to approve $2 million with no contingency, $1 million in year one, $1 million in year two. But, and what second was made, and then Brian Green stepped in, the compliance chair, and he wanted to clarify when the funding would come in. So, and Ms. Peggy Dean here stated that she believes that UTPB would be okay with being reimbursed. Is that correct? And Tim Ogilvy amended the motion to reimburse upon receipt of the expenditures, $1 million at the end of year one, $1 million at the end of year two, and again, it was approved 9-1.
And there was no contingency that MDC had to come in. We talked about saying we'd do it if they were going to do it, but I think the compliance committee felt like we need this, whether they come in or not, and if they don't, then Dr. Woodley's going to figure something else out.
Well, the last time I guess I understood the MDC position was that they had committed to do it, but that they were deferring their contribution. Is that not accurate?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, we've had conversations with MDC over the past year. They've never formally committed. They've had the conversations. They've looked at the proposal. I had some additional conversations with the chair of MDC in the past 2 months, and also with Sarah Harris, who has agreed to take it forward in September for consideration for the last 2 years. My conversations with the chair of MDC did revolve around the complication of some commitments that they have early on. They indicated that there was a greater probability that they could fund the $2 million if we backloaded it. They also care about whether ODC, what is ODC going to commit. So I do think there is the potential for support at this particular time, but of course there's no guarantee that they will do it.
So I think what I'm hearing you say is MDC is depending upon ODC's.
No, I don't think that. Sorry.
ODC's leadership. I think that's what I'm
That's nothing about that. Don't get me in trouble, David.
So are you going to have to build a new facility?
No, it's not facility. So the $5.8 million that we need over the 5 years to grow the program really revolves around hiring the faculty, the startup cost, equipment in our current engineering building to build the labs out and to go forward. And so these are very expensive programs to start up. It'll take a while before we get students in the pipeline. Our goal, of course, is to have at least 60 students steady state enrolled in the civil engineering program. We'd love to be able to graduate at least 20 civil engineers every single year. But the startup costs really revolve around faculty, and labs.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand the way that we have approached this type of project in the past is workforce training. And so what you focus on, or what we have focused on in the past, is the quality of the jobs. That, you know, and if those folks are trained here, there's there's a high likelihood that a substantial number of them would live here and join the workforce, and those are typically pretty good paying jobs with good benefits and whatnot.
Well, a huge demand, and you know, the University of Texas Permian Basin, you know, we're known for grow your own. Most of our students are from the Permian Basin, and most of them stay here and work. And so, with all of the construction and all of the advancement in the energy industry here, we know there's a need. You know, we're the only, you know, metropolitan area. I think we're fourth in the number of civil engineers that need to work here, and we're the only one that doesn't have a civil engineering program in-house, basically, in the community. So we know there's a need, and we're excited to step up, and we appreciate any support.
And on the payout, just for clarity, you're good with getting reimbursed?
Of course.
Okay.
No problem.
What would we base the reimbursement on?
You know, the actual expenditures for the labs and the, you know, the things that are in the startup packages.
Any other questions or comments?
Make a motion, we accept it and go forward.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this request in the terms that we've discussed here. Any further discussion?
A thank you to Mr. Landgraf, the civil engineer,
Yes.
who put the first monies in.
I was gonna make a heartfelt plea, but I'll just go, you guys. I'll take the yes. But
Yeah, you need to know when to quit. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
We're grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. Item number 11, discuss and consider resolution approving the infrastructure and facade improvements performance agreement for 523 North Grant.
Okay, yes, so we've got a new restaurant that opened up. I asked a coworker how to say this, La Chiveseria. I think that's it. They are occupying a Tier 1 downtown property at 523 North Grant. They've applied for two requests, $25,000, it's a performance grant, $25,000 on a facade grant. And after some discussion, I mean, overall, they're looking to, they've got two quotes from Texas Luxury Homes, and then from PAR Construction is the second. They wanting to repair the exterior doors, the windows and trim. They're going to put in new aluminum and a glass storefront. After some discussion, a motion was made to approve the facade grant, seconded, and all approved, one abstention. The second request, any questions on that? The second request here for the infrastructure grant was the committee did review. Bids have been submitted on this. The two owners, actually, Denise Fernandez and Leticia Saladar, are also the owners of Dos Amigos here. That's just incidental information. But after some discussion, Tim Ogilvy made a motion to approve the funding at 50% of the grant request, or $180,000, and it was seconded, all approved, one abstention.
And Brian, we pay this after they've done it and given us the receipts, right?
It is and Tom, throw me a lifeline if I'm wrong, but if I remember reading in the package, I believe it is upon receipt, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. We don't prepay so they can do it.
Right.
Sir?
Payments are made after the CO is issued.
Yeah. Okay. I knew
And those
there
are
was a-
presented to compliance for review, correct? Yes.
Yeah, they're made after the CO is issued, but also based on invoices that they paid.
That they paid.
So they're spending 780,000 and they want us to fund 200 and whatever that is.
180
Plus the 25.
Plus the 25.
plus the
205.
25, yeah.
Yes, sir.
On that, I should know the answer to this, but I don't. Do they have to show us the invoices for the 360? For the whole, the 780, or just for what we're reimbursing? How does that work, Tom?
But it's handled through the finance department, do you have any?
Yeah, could you ask that one more time? I'm sorry.
If they have to spend the 360 because we fund 50% of it, right?
Right.
So they would send us the receipts for the 360. The other 420 that's not funded by the grant, do they show us that they spent that much, or is, okay.
Excuse me, when the audience speaks, will y'all please come to the podium for recording purposes? Appreciate it.
Mama's getting me in trouble. Just kidding. Yes, they are required to show that they expended the full amount, and we go through all of the invoices and verify that before we pay it out.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's in your package too. The 420 is going to be projected to cover for drywall, paint, flooring, lighting, hardware, furniture, etc.
Yep.
Any other questions? I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the request as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Let's see. All right, now, discuss and consider notice of default for the El Noel Art Museum Economic Development Agreement dated July 28th, 2022. Brian?
Yeah, so in 2022, Ella Noel Museum was approved for a grant for $600,000. It went into default in July of 2023. The grant, they never made a monetary request. They submitted the paperwork, never submitted the paperwork for payment or anything like that. Austin Keith, who is a board member, I think Tom Mansky was going to approach him and try to get some detail as to why they didn't do that. But the grant currently is in default, and I think they've got a follow-up request behind that. But we've got to address this matter first, I believe, before we can proceed with that. So after some discussion, Chairman Green recommended that terminating the original agreement as in default, a motion was passed, make a recommendation to the ODC to terminate that agreement that was never acted upon, and then it was actually advised to actually review Section 2.6 of this agreement, and that we need to request written notice, or actually provide, written notice to them that they are in default prior to being able to proceed with any future requests.
Okay, so the action that you're looking for is for us to provide a notice of default and to terminate the agreement.
Yes.
For our rights under the agreement.
Yes.
Yes.
Unanimously
So
requested, yes, sir.
we haven't asked them why they're in default? Isn't it just because they haven't done they're not finished with the construction?
This was an unusual, at least in my opinion, from what our other agreements looked like. It was a one-year deal, and they were required to spend money in 22 to 23. I don't believe they even broke ground in that time frame, so they didn't spend any money, and they didn't address it. They didn't make any requests, obviously, because they couldn't, and so then it ultimately went into default. I did talk to Austin Keith about it on multiple occasions. Obviously, he didn't have every answer for it, and it's difficult to go back because the executive director at the time is no longer with the organization. So.
And I think from what I've been able to gather, because I've had a lot of people talk to me about this, they hadn't done anything, so they weren't even thinking about being in default. They were thinking, at first is that you have 5 years, and then after 5 years to get it done. But then the clause in here said within 1 year you had to spend the 12 million. So I don't think they were nearly as organized as they are now. And I think they've got some really, really good people over there now. Brian Murray is a great CPA. He's Lissa's CPA. And they have a new executive director who is just really dynamic. Is she here? No. I thought she might be here. Nicole. And Austin is real involved in it. So there's not, I don't know that there's any excuses except they hadn't spent the money, so they didn't try to do it, and it just kind of fell through the crack.
Where does that money go back to? Just into?
We never gave it.
Oh, never gave it.
It's still showing as reserved on our
Because they never spent
financials.
any of the money.
Right.
We've never given them the money, and they've counted that they were gonna get that money from us when they got it finished. It was in their head. And
That's not what the agreement calls for.
well, I know.
It didn't, but
So
that's what the people that didn't read the agreement had in mind.
But all we're voting on right now is to
terminate.
terminate the,
Provide a notice of default and terminate.
so made.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to provide a notice of default and to terminate the agreement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
I
Motion
think when
passes.
we tell them, we need to tell them we're open to.
We did,
deal.
that's the second.
Okay.
Oh, it's coming right behind.
Another item on the agenda.
And,
That's why I said we're gonna argue that.
but there's a mistake in the second, because Austin, I talked with Austin and then I talked with Tom, and somehow we didn't get that right, but initially or a couple months.
Let me, Paige, I'm sorry, but let me go ahead and read this item real quick so
Okay.
we know which item we're talking
Okay.
about. Item number 13 on the agenda is discuss and consider a grant to support the upgrades of the current system, a moderate expansion, and other related improvements of the Illinois Art Museum, and authorize the ODC president to negotiate, execute performance agreement with the Illinois Art Museum. Now,
So what we told them is, it's a technicality, but you don't have an agreement anymore, so you need to apply again. And I felt like that we were open to approving it because we still had the money reserved. About a month ago, they asked David, Austin did, for another $400,000 to make it $1 million, and that's what brought the whole thing up. Well, we didn't talk about that, and what this agreement that's in our packet is supposed to be is for $600,000. Something has got messed up in the communication because it says 400.
Can I explain that?
Yeah.
And I thought it was only in one place, but it's in the main request. They did want to change, they wanted to change their most recent request from 400 to 600. I talked to them Friday. Unfortunately, I was out of town, but we were trying to get some things done over the phone. And they submitted a correction to me, but it was already late in the day after the numbers were submitted for the agreement or the agenda to be written.
Okay.
And so
So we
their
do
intent
have a
was to be at
request for
600.
Okay, good. I move that we would re-enter into an agreement with them for $600,000 that we already have reserved.
I second that.
Before we do that, is there anybody here from the museum? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve an agreement in the same amount as the original agreement that we approved a few years ago. Let me clarify, are we going to, is there going to be a difference in the timeline? As far as construction goes, are we going to address that piece, and then the payout based on reimbursement of what? How would we? How are they thinking that? What's
They're
their
in-
request?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, because we were paying $100,000 a year, but for 6 years is how it was set up, if I remember correctly.
Well,
And now, if they're saying they want 600, do they want it on the same terms per year, or they want it all up front? We need to get that clarified.
Well, Austin told me, he said, we know we just get it over time. So they're not expecting to get 600,000.
Okay.
I would think after they get it open, the CO to get it open, that the timeline starts and they get a fifth a year, because Austin even kind of said that's not going to break you to pay us over 5 years.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Really, what they wanted is the commitment, because there were some other foundations that would be willing to help them if they had a local if they had local funding. And so really the commitment is what they really want.
Okay.
In terms of the contract, is it structured the same way as the previous one? Are we gonna run into that same issue of the 1 year?
Yeah, I think that's gotta be,
Well, I think it would say the certificate of occupancy. They say it's going to be open in 2 months, but
okay,
In 2
so,
months?
all right, am I interpreting your motion to approve $600,000 commitment based on a negotiated contract that's to be done? is what and again, incorporating those issues where we know there was a problem, a timing issue, and whatever information that they have to supply to us as evidence that they've spent the money and whatnot. So, am I correct
Yes.
there? Okay.
Well, doesn't it concern any of us that nobody's here to ask for this $500,000?
I've had at least 7 people
Yeah,
call me.
they're wanting the money.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. But
And they've
if I wanted $500,000, I'd make sure I showed up and explained what I was wanting to do.
And
they
secured
talk here and there,
financing to get the deal finished.
but- Right,
And they're almost finished.
yeah.
So I think it'll happen. It's just a matter of
I
when.
think we're safe.
Well, we wouldn't give them any, I mean, it wouldn't even start until they got the certificate of occupancy. It just doesn't say within 12 months
Right.
now.
Yeah.
It's at that time.
Well, I don't have a problem with the issue of letting them have the money since it was already awarded. The problem is nobody's here to ask for it.
Well, and I believe Austin Keith told me the other day he's out of town.
Austin wanted him to take care of it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and really, I've had a bunch of people call me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, any additional comments, any further discussion? Have a motion and a second to approve the request for $600,000 commitment. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Item 14, discuss and consider request for extension of time to complete the facade improvements at 406 North Texas.
Yeah, you're having there, for item 14, this is from, I'm sorry? Oh, thought I heard something. Amber Young, she is trying to complete her facade grant, and there's been a delay in some structural steel materials. I think it was determined that she might need like 4 weeks, and I'm trying to remember what the request was in here. I think we were asking for, help me, Elizabeth, I forgot.
I think we said 6, but they had told us that the material should be in 2.
Excuse me, Elizabeth, would you come forward, please?
I'm sorry. You're in trouble.
See what happens when you bring the real secretary in here?
She's tough, isn't she?
I believe that some of the material got delayed by 2 weeks, so I think they were asking for 3. But instead of having to come back and asking for more time, me and Tom sort of discussed it and said, let's just ask for another 6 weeks and hopefully it should be done, completed, and everything's good to go.
Or 60 days. Something. Make sure it's long enough.
Just enough time for the delivery to be here and
Okay.
the job to be complete.
No other issues associated with this project, right?
Nope.
None that we're aware of.
Okay. Entertain a motion to extend for 6 weeks, I guess is what they're saying.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in signify by aye. All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, to discuss and consider resolution approving the 2025-26 2026 contractor agreements. And you have those, we have a budget. I think that the original contract, my recollection is, in the packet,
It is.
didn't reflect, didn't reflect a change in the Chambers contract. We eliminated that land development
The
of $45,000. The agreement in here does not reflect that, I think. Yeah,
I don't think it does, but it does say if they don't spend it, they
Yeah.
give it back.
yeah,
But-
well, I know the budget that we're gonna be looking
Right.
at does reflect the revised number, so I guess what I would say is all of the contractors' numbers match the budget that we're going to consider. So if we want to approve these contracts, I would say let's approve those with the modification of the agreement on the chamber to match up with the budget, which is $45,000 less than this number.
Right, okay,
So anybody like to make that motion?
so moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the contractors' agreements with the modification to the Chamber's Economic Development Agreement.
Which makes that this number.
Yeah. All right, so any further discussion?
Are we gonna talk, are we gonna go through these contracts? Okay.
We're going, the contracts?
Uh-huh.
We should do that now at this point.
That's what I was just waiting. There's just a couple of little things.
Yeah,
I said that we've learned from past experience with the city that you should never sign a contract before you read it, so I really did read them. The only thing that it says, and they all say this, is that they're gonna report to us quarterly on a quarterly basis in December, March, June, and September. And that doesn't seem like the right time because that quarter ends in that month. I mean, you're not gonna have the first quarter at the end, at our March meeting.
isn't it based on the fiscal, the October, November, December be the first, let's see.
Would be the first quarter, so you wouldn't have your
Sep-
meeting in
Yeah,
December.
that's right.
And March, you wouldn't go over the quarter in March, you'd go over in April, so.
I know that's when they submit, the chamber submits its invoice is at the end of December, right, Renee? That one-
Submit by the 10th, sorry.
Yeah, walk through
Chamber bills
walk through the
month.
logistics of how this works for us, just to make sure we're matching it up in the contract.
We are required to submit the invoice to get paid by the 10th of the first month of the quarter. So for the October, November, December quarter, we submit about October 1 with hopes of getting a check October 10th. Is that right, Kaylee?
Yep. That really wasn't what I was talking about. I was talking about when you report
Okay,
to us.
okay, but then when, from a reporting perspective, how does this match up with the?
Well, we've been reporting every month. You're talking about reporting to the council
Yeah,
as well?
Yeah, you have.
Yes, so the
Everybody
others,
else
yes.
Are now on a quarterly
Yes.
basis. I really wasn't.
You know, we
talking
actually report quarterly with our Discover Odessa, and we do the same thing that contract says, but it makes complete sense what you're saying, because then we're looking in advance.
Right.
So,
Yours doesn't say you report quarterly.
correct, we report monthly.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the rest of them do.
I'm getting up. Don't call me out.
I think that's a carryover from the previous leadership of the ODC board. It used to be all the contractors came every month and gave a report. If you notice on your agenda, some of them say board packet.
Right.
And so the meetings started to get lengthy. And so the recommendation was made by a previous board that I know, like us as your operations contractor, current media partners, we reported every every single meeting. But they told the rest of them that they could do an in-person report quarterly, but they had to provide a report every month for the packet. And I think that's where that may have come from. And there was a year where we actually were quarterly contractually, which was very unusual, but it was just 1 year.
So the motion would suggest that the contractor's reporting be kicked back a month.
Right. The contracts, and they all say this except the chamber.
Yeah.
All the other contracts would be, contractors shall present a verbal summary on a quarterly basis at the December, March, June, and September meetings. You know, we could change the wording if we wanted to leave December, March and say for the months of, but they're not going to report on the quarter before the quarter's over. I'm not trying to split hairs.
No, yeah, it's fine.
So I think we just need to change the contracts to say January, April, July, and October.
Yeah.
On all of them.
Okay. Except the chamber.
The chamber doesn't say that they report quarterly.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other contract issues?
No. I went through them.
All right, have a motion, and I did have a motion in a second, I think. All right, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign, motion passes. Discuss and consider a resolution approving the 2025-2026 General Development Plan. And I know we received an additional revised copy of that last night. And I hope everyone had a chance to look at that.
There's also one coming your way, a paper copy. And the only change that was made between that one and the one that you saw at the last meeting is highlighted in blue, and we'll put it on the screen as well.
Where'd you get to? Is there two of them?
No, that was just clipped together, two of them were.
Everybody got one?
Yep.
Would you like to go over the change that you and Peggy made regarding the 50%?
The change that we suggested.
That we
Yes.
suggested, yeah.
Proposed change, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, in our, we haven't looked at the revised budget yet, but the one we looked at last time had some requests from the city for infrastructure for every year. And the only thing that, and we are all fine with that, but we did feel like, as we talked, that there should be a cap on how much of our annual sales tax money that we spend for city infrastructure. You know, just because, you know, you could ask for all of it.
Yeah, it's not an open checkbook.
Right, and so what David and I talked about, and the numbers come out fairly close, they're not quite as much as the city's asking, but would be that on an annual basis, we would limit what we would grant for city infrastructure to 50% of the sales tax revenues for the year.
The year we're in or the prior year?
The year we're in.
So you won't know what that number is till the end of the year.
Well, I think we're trying to put a ceiling on what that number is going to be.
Yeah, but what he's saying is that the sales tax, you don't know exactly how much sales tax you're gonna collect till you get to the end of the year.
Well, I was using the numbers in the budget.
We do base the sales tax budget off of historical performance and, you know,
And we usually,
projections.
we usually under budget that.
Yes, and we conservatively budget, that's correct.
And we know every month how much we got, so,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if we would pay the request all in one thing or pay it however they ask for it, but it really, I mean, we can decide what we're using. The whole thing is that we hadn't really talked about what kind of limitation that we felt would be fair on using the sales tax money for a purpose different than what it was passed for. Certainly we can do that, and we certainly want to do that. But we didn't want it to just be a blank check that.
No, I agree.
Anybody got different idea, concerns, comments?
I don't know. The city ought to maintain the infrastructure of the city without this money. This money, my opinion, should be used for infrastructure to expand the city. It shouldn't be done for maintenance on what we've already got. The city ought to be doing that with the money they're getting from taxes and water and all that. So, I don't know, that's just my opinion.
Well, it's my impression that the request that would come to us, and maybe Aaron wants to speak to that, but the request that would come to us would be those projects whereby they are expanding thoroughfares, or those thoroughfares are being upgraded in some way in expanding areas. So I think that's what the intent is.
So the idea would be for thoroughfares and above, like you said. So thoroughfares, the interstate project comes to mind, but anything that's a thoroughfare. You do have a thoroughfare plan. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I think we might have shared it last time. But nonetheless, I did ask the city attorney, I said, what is your opinion on that? And he said, I got no problem with type A funds going toward thoroughfares. And so I know you all wanted to know that. So the idea would be then just to, as a proposal, we would come to you every year with those thoroughfare projects. And then y'all could decide if you believe that those, as a board, create an economic advantage to our city by keeping those maintained. I agree. It would be great if we could do that. You know, we get roughly, what is it, 1 penny? The city takes 1 penny?
The sales tax?
Yes, 1 penny.
Yes.
The state legislature has decided that we can only go up 3.5%. So for a city like us that has been conservative over the years, we are hindered by that approach, right? You have other cities that are far greater on their tax rate than we are. So we are basically being, by that law being passed, we'll never get there because the legislature has capped us. They've said you can only go up to 3.5% every year without going to the voters. Well, that'll never pass. But again, it hurt. That legislation hurt fiscally conservative cities like us. So we'll never get to there, right? We're never going to get to those cities, the tax level that some of those cities are at. That might be 55 cents, 65 cents, something like that. Plus we only do get the 1 penny on sales tax, right? 0.25 goes to the hospital. We get 1 penny. And that accounts for 33% of our budget, and just police and fire alone, that doesn't even cover that. So that's why.
So would any of the projects or none of the projects that would there would be made a request to ODC to fund be expansion projects? Expansion of those thoroughfares, or it's just a matter of resurfacing?
It could be a rebuild. It could be a resurfacing of a thoroughfare. So not just a new one or expansion of it, but definitely at least maintaining it. And I understand the point, but I would make this counterpoint. If you were to take away the thoroughfares, we would not be doing well with our economic expansion or retaining of jobs or expansion of jobs if those roads were to deteriorate over time. it just wouldn't be there. Again, just if you were to look at a map and take away the thoroughfares, we would not be doing well economically. So I think the argument can always be made that those thoroughfares, even if it's just maintenance of them, will help encourage the expansion of enterprise and retaining enterprise here in our community.
Okay.
And I will say there is a solution. There's always problems, solutions, and politics, right? The problem is not enough money. The solution is perhaps one day a local option sales tax in lieu of property tax. Let the local voters vote 2 pennies, right? If we could go vote 2 pennies and then do away with property tax, we'd be great. And the local sales and the local property tax would actually go away. So there's problem, there's solution, and then there's politics. I've brought that up to I don't know how many legislatures and nothing's happened yet. So anyway,
politics.
That's the politics side of it.
And the list for 2026, I mean, the projects that were being requested to offer funding is in that packet that I just gave you in the very back sheet. And those are all thoroughfares. And our Public Works Director is available for questions if you have any. And you're right, Peggy, the amount that you all suggested is just a hair shy, I think 500,000 shy of what's on that list.
Yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't trying to drastically cut the number. It was just trying to set some guardrails on what that would be.
Limit.
Yeah.
So we add all these up on this last page, and that's the number you're looking for next year?
Say one more time. I'm sorry.
Do you add all the numbers up on this last page?
No, just under fiscal year 26. That will be the number that is on the.
In those projects we're not approving those projects today. Those projects would come individually at an ODC board meeting, and then we would have an opportunity to evaluate those.
You're looking at budget authority here.
Yeah.
And you're correct.
Right.
And that 7.5 million is 50% of the
Right.
revenue. And they actually ask for 8 million, the 5 million separate. So what this budget would say is it's 500,000 less than what they asked for, which was what.
I went to that last page, that's why I said hell no.
And then Mr. Tucker is here. I know last time you all asked for maybe specifics. He's here to provide that specifics on those projects if you'd like to hear it.
The only question that I would have in that regard is there's the interstate, the I-20 project is $5 million this year and $15 million next year. And I guess in my mind, I look at that a little differently. That's a loan.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that you'd call that a project that would count against our sales tax revenue, because we're going to be reimbursed for that. The actual outflow for us is the investment income that we lose by instead of having it invested in the city's.
And I didn't
spending it.
count that against that.
Okay,
I only
okay,
counted the
okay, just wanna make sure.
7.5
Yeah,
million.
okay.
So, and they had asked for 8.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that,
Okay.
we did treat that
Yeah.
as a loan.
Okay.
Now, I got a little confused because you threw in a $20 million university at the end.
In another fiscal year?
2030.
In 2030.
Yes, so that, I don't know if that was on the last sheet. I think that one got cut off of the last, but it was on the list last time. We just didn't get that far into the future.
Yeah.
And those are very far out projected needs. I mean, we do have a plan, right? A master plan that the city follows, but I think the immediate
a state highway.
Farm to market, 2020.
university.
I see what you mean. It's what was 27th Street many, many years ago, right?
Yeah.
So I think
Out west, it was a state highway, or
It used to
Farm to
be.
Market Road.
42nd is state-controlled, university is city street.
Oh, wow, okay.
Okay, since you're up here, what is the Grandview 52nd in 2027?
What that is let me address 52nd first. We're actually under design today for reconstruction of 52nd from Grandview to JBS Parkway. We broke that project into 3 years. For 2026, we're looking at another reconstruction project from Andrews Highway to, I believe that one's Dixie. Yes. And then for 2027, we would complete it and build the piece between Dixie and Grandview. It's a big enough project, we broke it into 3 phases.
What do you mean by reconstruction?
It's a full depth reconstruction,
Like you're doing on
removing all
Dixie right now,
like we're doing Dixie today, yes, sir.
between 52nd and,
We're doing
42nd?
Dixie
Yeah.
from 56 down to Walnut. That project's under construction. Removing asphalt base.
and graded everything off and started over.
Yeah.
Yes, we're removing asphalt base, repairing any curb work, putting in concrete as we need it, and then bringing the street back up all new. In that project, we're actually gonna build a concrete intersection there at Walnut, which will improve that drainage.
So what did that one cost you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it was 1.5 or so, because it's a shorter stretch. I think about 1.5 million. Yes. It was right under 2 million.
Does anybody have any other questions or comments regarding the general development plan? Any of the changes that we've suggested? Any other changes somebody may want to suggest?
And the only other thing that we added that didn't get highlighted was number 6 on page 3.
Because that was,
We talked about that.
previously
Yeah.
highlighted.
Yeah, it was,
There's a, I think I mentioned this before. Let me see this first. Yeah.
I changed.
The way this reads, Kaylee, it really should, that second bullet point under strategic planning goals, there, when it says government code type A parameters, there should be a comma and a small I, because it's, and then including, comma, or whatever. It should just be one sentence there. It shouldn't be 2 sentences there. That, when you read that, you really want all of that coming together.
Okay, there we go.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the general development plan as submitted today.
I move.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the general development plan. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The budget,
Okay.
any specific comments that you want to?
Yes, I just wanted to highlight some of the changes that were made since the last budget y'all saw. You did all discuss taking the $45,000 out of the chamber line item for that land development item. The second change that I wanted to go over, really just back up a little bit. We talked about reimagining the way that we put this budget together for you all. Whereas historically, on the business incentive line item, we would put a lump sum of everything that you wanted reserved so that you would show it as being unavailable from your fund balance. I think we decided to move away from that and put instead the amounts that were going to be expended as you would do in a traditional budget. And so I did that on the business incentives line item here. So according to the existing economic development agreements, there's about $4 million in anticipated payouts that should come out in fiscal year 26. I did put in an additional $1 million in that line item just in case there were any residual issues from, like for example, I think Select Energy or Champion, one of those, Liberty maybe. One of our agreements paid out twice this year just because there were so many years where the audits were behind, and then we made the switch of auditing firms and they got caught up. So just in case there's anything like that, I put an extra $1 million in there for unanticipated payouts. Another change that was made was on the infrastructure line item here. Last year, we made the decision to break out the ICA, Wacom, DJK projects of the world onto a separate infrastructure line item so that you all could track those separately, whereas before they were all lumped into business incentives. And so on that line item, based on the speed at which the current commitments are being constructed, it would appear that they will all finish and be paid out next fiscal year. So in addition to that, I proposed an additional 8, and I think it's being proposed today an additional $3 million, just in case there are any additional projects that come on board that do have an accelerated construction timeline. So that way you wouldn't have to come back for an amended budget next year if there are any that pop up. The next change that I'll go over are here on these city and county infrastructure grants. It is being proposed the $7.5 million, which is the 50% of the sales tax for city infrastructure, and it is being proposed a $7.5 million budget authority to the county for infrastructure projects that you've heard about previously.
And that doesn't mean these have been approved.
Correct. Correct. Nothing has been approved. It's just budget authority so that you can make the decision in the future to support should you decide to.
And then again, I think I would make the comment that as we approve projects, they will, I mean, they're going to impact this reserves forecast every time so that we understand where we stand on the reserves.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And so the last item I'd like to go over on the budget is down below, and this is completely new from last time, is the way that we're capturing the fund balance impact. So this plays to the ideology of putting the whole $30 million in the business incentive, so it takes it out of the fund balance. So if you'll look here in this highlighted section, the beginning fund balance number that you're walking into fiscal year 26 with is $107 million. We all know that not most of that, a lot of it is committed to different things. So what I did below is I captured the restricted fund balance, which represents the commitments that you have outstanding. I captured the reserved fund balance, and this number can change if you want your nest egg to grow or shrink. And this is the money that you all talked about setting aside in case something.
This is our dry powder.
This is,
for,
yes.
A large project
Mm-hmm.
that we want to make sure that we have the ability to address.
Mm-hmm. And then the remaining reserves after the dry powder and after the commitments would be an uncommitted amount of $31 million. Mm-hmm. So that way, if you see this total ending fund balance down here of $84 million, we're still capturing it in the same light that we were capturing historically. You'll see it's kind of in alignment with the historical fund balance numbers, but we're capturing more accurately what that ending fund balance is made up of. And I think that will, yes, it will answer a lot of questions that some have had for you in the past as far as what you have available, not available, those kinds of things. Any questions on the budget?
thank you for those changes, and I personally think it's pretty clear now.
And thank you for your help on those changes also. Peggy called me and said, or she emailed me and she said, I've got some changes, and I was also working on the city budget at the same time, so this was a team effort between Peggy
This
and
was
I.
a team thing. Are we talking about the reserves too, or are we just talking about the budget right now? I mean, it's all together kind of as one package. I just wanted to point out on the reserves that we don't have in the reserves the city infrastructure from here on. You know, we hadn't really talked about it, but what it would be if we wanted to put that in would be 50% of the sales tax revenue each year. We don't have it projected because we hadn't really talked about it before this, but.
Yeah, this is gonna be a great tool for us to analyze those types of things, I think. And I do think it makes some sense for us to get out in front and understand. I like the fact that we've got something coming from the city that says we're anticipating doing these projects, and we're anticipating coming to ODC for assistance to financial support to do them, so that we can, if we can get it out as far in front of us as we can, then it helps us understand. Although we're not making a commitment, we in some way we know what's coming, and you know there's a good chance that we'll have to make a decision.
Yeah, I like that put in there like you just did, so we.
That's right.
Because if we do fund those projects up to 50%, the 100 million isn't the number; it's 65 million.
Yeah.
So I can leave that in there, and I'll put this reserves forecast as like an exhibit or an attachment with a resolution where we're approving everything.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Any questions regarding the budget?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Have a motion, a second to approve the budget as presented. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Great.
Thanks, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kaylee.
Upcoming, the next meeting date is September the 11th, 3 o'clock. Anybody have any concern about that?
September 11th.
Do it?
Does that ring a bell somewhere?
All right, we're going to go into executive session as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. The ODC Board may adjourn to executive session to discuss the following projects: Project Whiptail, Project Blizzard King. I need a motion to do that.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
September.
Need a motion to come back into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Tom reviewed a project, Whiptail. We have a letter of intent that was reviewed. We made a couple of modifications to that. There's an item A on here that says assist, and we'd like to add take reasonable efforts to assist. And then there's a sentence in here that says in exchange for above referenced incentives, we want to change that to in exchange for above referenced assistance. This is Whiptail Polytech LLC. And I would entertain a motion to approve this letter of intent.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.